Welcome to CSC 490, special topic on information security. I am Dr. Mahmoud Iqbal Hussain, Assistant Professor, Department of CSC, Brak University. So this is in this lecture I will just give you some overview of the course and how to use the different resources of the book, and also I will give some brief idea about the example which will be carried out throughout the whole lecture. We will see the characters and we have a banking system as an example. Okay. So in this book, actually we have three main characters, that are Alice, Bob and Trudy. So Alice and Bob are the good guys and Trudy is the bad guy or the hacker, or we can say him intruder. Okay, so let me give you an example. Like, suppose Alice opens Alice online banking. So what are Alice's security concerns? Bob is one of the customer of this bank, and what are his security concerns? Then how Alice and Bob concerns are similar or how they are different, and how does Trudy view this situation? So we actually you don't have to answer these questions. We try to find the answer of these questions throughout this lecture. So CIA is three aspects of information security, where based on this CIA the security information policies are generated. Let's see what CIA means. CIA means confidentiality, integrity and availability. Take a look at this confidentiality first. Like that AOB bank must prevent Trudy from learning Bob's account balance. So that means any hacker or outside of the system cannot take information from the system. So that is called actually confidentiality, and it means we have to prevent unauthorized reading of the information, and to do so cryptography is being used here. Then integrity. Trudy must not be able to change Bob's account balance. So the hacker or someone from outside the bank must not change any information of the customers. Okay. So, and Bob must not be able to improperly change his own account balance. Like, I have a account in some bank and I cannot change the account balance improperly. So integrity means prevent unauthorized writing of information or unauthorized modification of the information. Here also we use cryptography. And lastly, this availability. So availability means the information must be available when needed. Like in a day, in 24/7, it should be available, this information. For example, the Alice must be able to make transaction. If not, then Bob will take his business to elsewhere. So availability means data is available in a timely manner when needed. So availability is a new security concern. You might heard of DOS attack or DDoS attack, denial of service. So it actually for this availability issues. So CIA is the only beginning of information security. Let's take a look at some other cases. Like when Bob logs onto his computer. So how does Bob's computer know that Bob is really the Bob and not Trudy? So in that case, we use password. So Bob's password must be verified. So for this verification process, it requires some clever cryptography. So I am asking you these questions. What are the security concerns of passwords? Are there any alternative to the passwords? It's okay that if you don't have this answer, but throughout this course we will try to provide information regarding these questions. Let's think about another case, like when Bob logs into the AOB or the banking system. How does that bank know that Bob is really Bob? As before, Bob can use his password. Unlike standalone computer case, network security issues may arise. So what are the network security concerns? So in that case, protocols are critically important. Okay, because in networks we use different kinds of protocol, and crypto is also important in the protocol. So once Bob is authenticated by this bank, then the bank must restrict actions of Bob. Like Bob cannot view Charlie's account info, Bob cannot install any new software. So enforcing this restriction is known as authorization. So this is actually a part of access control. So through authorization we have authentication. Okay. And this cryptography, protocol, access control are implemented in the software. So what are the security issues of software? So most of these softwares are complex and buggy. There are different flaws, lead to security flaws. So how does TrueD attack in the software? How to reduce flaws in the software implementation, software development? And what are the malware? I think you heard about different kinds of malware. So what about the malware? Like some softwares are intentionally evil. Okay. Sometimes the hackers put some viruses, worms in the client software in a system, and they collect information from the system. So how this malware works? What can Alice and Bob to do protect themselves from the malware? What can TrueD do to make the malware more effective? And also operating system, it also enforces security, for example authorization, because operating system is a large and complex software. It requires millions of ports and is subject to bugs and flaws like any other software. So can we trust an operating system? Okay. So if I just summarize all the thing, we actually discuss about cryptography, access control, protocol, and software. Okay. So this textbook is consists of these four major parts, but our main focus is on the technical issues. Okay, and there is a, remember one thing, there is a people problem. Like people often break security, both intentionally and unintentionally. So we consider the unintentional cases. For example, suppose you want to buy something from online. To make it concrete, suppose you want to buy something from Amazon. So we have to use some browser to access that site. So that web browser uses SSH protocol. This SSH protocol relies on cryptography, so that access control issues arise. Okay, and all these security mechanisms are in the software. So suppose all these security steps work perfectly, what could possibly go wrong? Like TrueD can try man-in-middle attack. SSL is secure, so attack doesn't work. Web browser issues a warning. What do the user do? So if the users ignore the warning, attack works. None of the security mechanism failed, but user unintentionally broke the security. So this is the people problem. Like the users or client, they actually don't have proper training that how to use this system. So they might intentionally security concern. So mainly we'll discuss in this. We'll cover lots of things from cryptography. So cryptography basically the secret codes. This book will cover classic cryptography, symmetric cipher, public key cipher, hash function, advanced crypto analysis, but we will just take a look at the 4 parts. And from access control, we discuss about authentication and authorization. In authentication, we will discuss password, biometrics, and other techniques. In authorization, we discuss about access control list, multi-level security, firewalls, intrusion system. We will see some simple authentication protocol, which are basis of security protocol, and some real-world security protocol like SSH, SSL, IPsec, Kerberos. There are also some wireless protocols like WEP, GSM. I think you have heard these things. Okay. From software, we'll discuss about different security critical flaws like buffer overflow, race condition. We discuss about malware, how to prevent them and how to detect those malware, the features of malware. Okay. Then how hackers dissect the software, digital right management, okay. Software and test, etc. Operating system, what are the basic security issues of operating system, trusted operating system. There is NSCAB, or is a Microsoft Trusted Operating System, that is called Next Generation Secure Computing Base. We will try to cover that also. Okay. But there are lots of topic actually, but it is difficult to cover all this topic here. So I will just cover the basics of the information security, and you have to study a bit more detail the advanced level of information security. Okay, so before concluding this lecture, we should think like Trudy. Okay, so a good guy must think like a bad guy. So if you don't think like a bad guy, then you won't understand what he can do. Like for example, a police detective. So he have to study and understand criminals. So he have to think like criminals, how they think. Okay. So in information security, we want to understand Trudy's motive, the Trudy's method, and we often pretend Trudy. So is all of this security information is a good idea? So there is a Bruce Schneier. He said it's about time somebody wrote a book to teach the good guy what the bad guy is already know. So we must try to think like Trudy. We must study Trudy's method. We can admire Trudy's cleverness. Often we cannot help but laugh at Alice and Bob's stupidity, but we cannot act like Trudy. Okay, except this class. Maybe in the class we will see some techniques, but in the real life you cannot act like it. Okay. So in this course, think like a bad guy, look for weaknesses, strive to find weak link. It's okay to break the rules, think like Trudy, but don't do anything illegal. So rest of the lectures will follow from this information security principle and practice by Mark Stamp. So he actually have this lecture slides in YouTube. So the rest of the slides, rest of the lectures are from his lecture. So what I am suggesting you to do is, in every week you have to go through all the lectures by Mark Stamp. Okay. Try to take some notes, try to understand, and keep the notes that what you are not understanding, and I will discuss those things in the classes. So you have to take the online classes of Mark Stamp.